Hi guys, I don't really have much of a script for this one, just going to kind of do it off the top of my head. And I guess I want to talk a little bit about my dad. A lot of you guys probably already know, but earlier this week he passed away. I was there with him the whole time. It was just me and him, and I kind of want to talk a little bit about it and explain kind of where I'm at, and also kind of like give you guys an explanation of, oh, why hasn't he been on? Well, that's the reason. 3 or 4 days before he passed, the doctors told me that, well, actually, let me take a step back, okay? So ever since about 2023, his health has been on the decline, and it has been on the decline despite his best efforts. He had fought against multiple infections. He got pneumonia 6 times in 2 years, basically, and one of them ended up, the most recent one, ended up leaving him hospitalized. That was the one later in June, and that's whenever things really, kind of the temperature of things really got turned up, and it started getting really bad. But for about 2 years now, I've been doing a lot. I've been going over to his house, multiple times a week, doing a lot of chores for him, doing things like, anything from going shopping for him to, like doing the sheets on his bed, making sure that his floor is vacuumed, etc., right? I was basically maintaining his entire house and cleaning it. It was my responsibility, I thought, as his son to do that for him, and I did. And so, that was the reason why a lot of times I would end my stream at about 7 to 8 p.m. It's mainly just to call him and, make sure that he has everything he needs. And this has been something I've been doing for the past 2 years. Ever since June of this year, when he got his pneumonia for the 4th time, before the 4th pneumonia, he's 76 years old. He's been through Vietnam. He's had heat stroke before. Half of one of his lungs was gone, and he was still walking, a brisk 5K every single day in 30 or 40 minutes. And this is at 76 years old. He would do this every single day. And this is after 3 pneumonias, but the 4th one really kind of, it pretty much almost got him. I mean, and, we were talking about this, and, he was a fan of boxing. And so, he was saying, it was the count was 6 or 7, right? It's he was almost out with that 4th pneumonia, but somehow he managed to pull through, and with a good type of new antibiotic and everything, he had recovered pretty much entirely. And this was kind of this had gone relatively well. He was going back to being at the store. He lived alone pretty much his whole life, and even at the end, I would come over every single day and help him for hours, but he did live alone. He would shower by himself. He would be able to take care of himself, cook himself meals, etc. Although that was something that I was kind of so I had a lot of, home care stuff, personal chefs set up and everything, for whenever he thought it was time, I would be ready for it to be time. And so ever since 2023, he and I had been on relatively the same page, that we were kind of living on borrowed time. And it was a miracle that he even came out of that pneumonia at all. And we ended up being able to, earlier this year, go to Florida. And Florida is where I was born. It's where he grew up as well. And it's where the majority of my family is. And so we went out there, and I think back right now to, the fact that we were able to go out there. He was able to see everybody in the family and spend all this time with them. And at the time, I was very frustrated because I had to take time away from my stream. It was the same week that Expedition 33 came out. But, I look back on that, and I'm just so proud and happy that I ended up making that decision at this point, right? Because he was able to see everybody, and he saw them in good health, too. He was... I don't know how this even happened, but he was 78 at the time, and he was still walking around and, going from 9 a.m. to 2 a.m. every single day. And so he had an incredible amount of energy. I guess now I can finally go to the recent period of time, which is whenever I kind of started being very intermittent in my streaming. You can look at my graph, and, my stream hours had went way down, right? And this was the reason. It was because my dad had been to the hospital 3 times, and the 3rd time was obviously the time that he didn't leave. But the 1st time he had pneumonia, and he called me, and, things just progressively got worse. And he calls me in the morning. He says, "Hey, I don't want you to freak out, okay? Like you always do. But I've got acute liver failure, and I need to go to the emergency room right now." And I'm like, I was like so in shock. I was like, I didn't know what to say. And so I asked him, I said, "Are you dead?" And he's like, "I don't know." And so we go over there, and, you know, like, he turned out, long story short, had pancreatic cancer. Not a good day. Worst cancer to have. And I remember telling him that he had pancreatic cancer, and somehow he didn't get the memo that he had pancreatic cancer. I was the one that was called and told before he was. And so he called me, and he's complaining about the nurses because the nurses are waking him up at night. And he's in the middle of a rant, and I interrupt him and I say, "Pa, just real quick, did the doctor talk to you?" He says, "No." He says, "What's going on?" I said, "You've got pancreatic cancer." He's, "Oh, okay." Well, so anyway, so it's like 4 a.m, and this bitch comes in here, and he didn't even care. He didn't give a fuck. And so, and it was honestly, like, I've never met a person in my entire life who gave less of a fuck than my dad. So he was in the hospital for that, and he came out of that, and obviously we went to the oncology place. My dad, you know, he and I went there, and, you know, he got along really well with the doctor, and, you know, he's walking in there, by the way. He would be walking around more than about 2 weeks ago. He was walking around the local grocery store here at HEB. And then, you know, it was really the chemotherapy, I think, really was what got him. Is that he had his first thing of chemotherapy, and then this is like the same week that he was actually walking around the store. He was stage 2A with pancreatic cancer, so we were talking about, like, maybe, you know, like, they were able to do a procedure to remove it. I think back on, like, what do they really do? This is like something that they would do in, like, Game of Thrones, right? It's like this isn't a surgery. This is like a procedure done by a medieval alchemist. I talked to my aunt about this, and she said, like, just do not get this procedure. It's really, really bad. It's actually worse. You know, the treatment is worse than the disease. You know, just enjoy your last 1.5 to 2-3 years, and, you know, like, trust me, it's going to be better. Because also, whenever you remove it, there's a chance that on a microbiology molecular level, the cancer does end up spreading anyway. My dad wanted to go through the chemotherapy, and he said, "All right, let's fuck it. Let's just do it." And I said, "Okay, all right, well, this is what you want to do. We're going to do it, right? It's his life." And so anyway, we went through it. Second chemo, the day of his second chemo, like, he had been feeling, like, kind of not really great, but I had kind of chalked that up to the first time he had gone out and done all that stuff that one day. This is like maybe about like a week and a half ago. Like, we go to the second chemo appointment, and he comes home, and he's like talking, like, oh my God, he's talking nonstop, right? And so on the way home, and then halfway through the way home, he was just like, right, he was tired. And, like, I get it, like, because he's done this before, right? I didn't really think much of it, but he comes back home, and he just collapses on the bed, and he's like, after that, he's like super, like, cold, he's shivering. The house, by the way, like, we forgot to turn on the AC. It's like 90 degrees Fahrenheit. It's so fucking hot. And so anyway, you know, he's sitting there, and he's freezing cold, and his back's hurting him, he can't fucking catch his breath, everything is awful. And I'm, like, thinking, like, okay, well, I want to go home and get ready because, you know, I want to go live tomorrow. But, like, I couldn't do that because he was just in this situation. So, you know, one thing led to another, and I ended up just sleeping on the floor next to his bed that night. And, you know, he couldn't catch his breath all night. It was just awful. The next day, we had an appointment for a pulmonology appointment, and we figured, well, I mean, instead of just going to the hospital, we might as well have them admit us to the hospital. And, you know, I have to, you know, take him in a wheelchair and, you know, everything like that. He's on his oxygen, etc. And, you know, like, he's not even, like, super really responsive. And, you know, he just kind of he went to the hospital, and obviously his blood pressure was like 70/50. So that's not a very good one, is it? And he goes to the hospital, he gets admitted, and things basically are not good. The end result is that I don't think that they ever really found out entirely what was wrong with him. But in my opinion, it's like, oh yeah, you go and you get chemo, and then after that you collapse and have a massive fucking crash out where you can't breathe. Probably it was because of the chemo, right? I mean, I can't be sure, but that's pretty much it. The doctor calls me, and she says that, well, we don't know if he's going to leave the hospital. And I'm like, I'm freaking out, right? I mean, like, it's just like, this is just, oh my God, right? Because I'm dealing with this, by the way, primarily by myself. You know, like, all my family's in Florida. lucky enough, and I'll get to this, but I was able to handle all this on my own. I did all this by myself. I had friends that would, reach out and try to help me, etc. But, for the most part, it was really just me doing all of this. He's had a lot of friends over the years, obviously. And so, many of them were able to come see him and everything. But, I think about it a lot myself, and I think to myself, growing up and even as an adult, there was a lot of friction between me and my dad, right? I would get very angry at him. I'd be very, very furious, angry at him for a number of reasons. Same with my mom, but especially my dad. And I had a lot of resentment for a lot of different reasons, etc. I love my dad. I always loved my dad. But he would make me frustrated a lot, and the way that he would act sometimes would make me uncomfortable, and it would bother me a lot. And so there was a very big amount of friction there. But, I remember when I was a kid, and he would always say this. He says, I'm not here to be your friend. I'm not here to hang out with you. I'm here to be your father and to raise you. So, when the time comes and I'm gone, you're going to be able to keep going. And at the time, he's telling me this, obviously, when I'm 8 years old. And so this is I've never met anybody who is even remotely close to as much of a hard ass as my dad is. It's not even remotely close. And, I'll tell him something bad that would happen to me, and this would turn into a story about how his family didn't have any money growing up, and so he had to hunt squirrels to feed the family. And so it was never a time that I could complain to him, and he wouldn't be able to one-up it, which would be frustrating for me, right? But at the end of the day, he was a massive fucking hard ass, and that harshness and everything, I think, is probably a lot kind of where I get it from, too. But I realized that, when he was dying, I was there, and I was able to deal with it, and I was there the entire time. I went till the very end, and, I think to myself, at the end of the day, he did it. I was ready, and, not as ready as you can be, obviously, right? But, I think about that a lot, and, what he set out to do as a father for me, I think he achieved it. And, I've had a number of days right now just to think about that, and it's been, I have a lot of very, very complex feelings about that. And, that's been basically what's been going on. I've obviously, had to contact all of my family members and everything and organize everything and deal with his will and everything. He's giving away most of his stuff to his friends. And we made a video of him, this is going to this guy, it's going to this guy, it's going to this guy, it's going to this guy. And I even made sure in the video, I was like, Pa, who's the car going to? He says, oh, it's going to you. I said, okay, all right, good. That's in the video. So I'll be getting the car. Everything else, don't give a fuck about it. But I'm getting the car. And obviously a few other things that, growing up, would have sentimental value to me. But otherwise, he's giving away a lot of the stuff to, different family members and friends, etc. And, I've had to organize all of that and do all of that. It's been a lot of work for me, and the work is not over, but it is beginning to recede, which is good. So, I've lost my mom in 2021, lost my dad, and now it's just me. And it's a weird feeling. It certainly is. My dad, at the end of the day, always really did try to do his best for me. And, like you guys know on my stream and everything, he was a part of my stream. And, I don't think I'll ever really be the same after losing him and going through all of this. But, to be honest, the only thing that I really felt is that I felt really sad when he passed away, is because, there was things that I had wanted to do for him, right? Like, for example, he's a veteran, he's a Vietnam veteran, and I had wanted to go and have him take one of the honor flights to Washington, D.C. and see the memorial and everything. And this is something he had wanted to do, and I had agreed to go with him and to do that. And because you have like a +1, and, they take a lot of the old vets there, and, I was really sad. Like, I did a lot of things with him, but I have a tremendous amount of regret for not doing more. And it's one of those things where, you know, I've had only a few of these in my life where you actually can't undo this. You can't go back and redo it or fix it or undo it or anything like that. You just simply have to live the rest of your life with the consequences of it. I hope I don't make that mistake again. I will do my best to never make that mistake again. And that's pretty much about it. You know, it's weird even now. Like, I'll like think about it. It's like, you know, it's 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock now, right, when I'm recording this. And I'm like thinking like, oh, I should probably call my dad, check in on my dad, and you know, there it is, right? And so, you know, it's gonna take me some time to kind of like get past it. I remember this is the day that we agreed to put him on hospice. I come in and it's like 2 p.m. or like 3 p.m. I come into his room, and he says, well, why aren't you streaming? And I'm like, what do you mean? Why am I not streaming? You're fucking dying. And so, you know, this is the kind of guy he was. And you know, I intend to honor that wish, and I'm not going to be gone forever. I'll be back soon. It's what he would want, and I think it's what's best. My dad growing up, and you know, was like the oldest member of the family, patriarch in a lot of ways of the family, would help people with all kinds of stuff, etc. And I find myself tremendously lucky and fortunate that I was able to deal with all of this by myself, and nobody else had to see him in the state that he was in at the end. And you know, they can have the memories of him being a strong, smart, you know, nice, kind guy, and funny, you know, very funny. I'm very glad that, you know, I was able to do all that myself, and nobody had to see what I saw. But anyway, I will be back. I don't really have a time frame, maybe a week or so, right? I mean, I don't know, maybe a little bit less, maybe a little bit more, something like that. If it's longer, too bad. If it's shorter, surprise. I made a post about this on Twitter. All you guys that left positive comments and messages, you know, in this hospital bed, I showed him, I was fucking scrolling. I was like, look at all these messages. Everybody wants you to get better. They're praying for you, everything like that. And, you know, like, he really appreciated it even then. Like, I think he was kind of in shock that it was so many of you all. And so, that's really appreciated, and it means a lot. It meant a lot to him. It means a lot to me. And, thank you. And so, I'll see you soon. That's about it. It's been a fucking crazy past 5 years. Oh my god. But, that's where we're at. So, I wanted to tell you guys all what happened, and, that's pretty much about it. And, thank you guys, everybody, and I'll see you soon. Peace.